us all together. Lord, we gather in your name as children of a sovereign God. Forever we proclaim, to God be all glory.
Well, good afternoon. How you doing? It is Sunday, February the 9th, 2025. Welcome to episode 224 of The Thinking Theologian. So if you get an opportunity today, it is Super Bowl Sunday. Drop your who you think the winner is going to be down in the comments. Chiefs or Eagles, who do you have? Be interested to see. So today we read Leviticus chapter 24 and 25. The title of today is The Lord's Provision. The focal scripture is on Leviticus 25:22, and this is what it says. It says, when you sow in the 8th year, you'll be eating from the previous harvest. You'll be eating this until the 9th year when its harvest comes in. And I'm going to explain what this means. It may seem like a weird verse, but you'll kind of understand where it's going to fit. So stepping out in faith sounds good, but when you put it into practice, it can really test what you believe. And that's the whole point of it being faith. I know there are times when I know that stepping out in faith is needed personally in my own life. However, making the step almost feels impossible at times because you're just afraid of what's coming. You don't know what you can't see what's coming, and that's part of faith. And you don't know what's coming, so you're afraid to make those steps and do what's needed to be done. And so even when I know that God has promised to meet my needs, even when I know that God's going to meet my needs and to step out in faith, I have a hard time doing it sometimes. So he has always provided, but I still have doubts. And so even though I know stepping out in faith is needed, that God's going to meet my needs where I am, doing that sometimes is difficult, even though I know he's always done it in the past. It's hard to continue to go down that path, that journey sometimes, because I want to hold on. I want to be in control. And so you're going to understand why all this makes sense in a minute. In today's reading, the Lord is telling the people about the year of Jubilee, and how to rest the land from the crops. Basically, in the year of Jubilee, people who owe debts are forgiven. People can buy back land. People are forgiven of things that are going on. Slaves are set free. The land is even given rest for a year, where there's no planting or no cropping or nothing's done. Just things that grow wild, they can go out and get what they need. And you'll be like, well, Alan, what does this have to do with anything about the Lord providing? You're going to see here in a second, because as the land is resting, the people are resting, but God's going to provide for them in this time of rest, during this year of Jubilee. And so he informs them that no planting can be done for a year. Now, obviously, if things grow wild, they can go get it, but no planting can be done for a year. They must trust that the Lord will provide a bounty to them from the previous year that will sustain them through this time. And so God's saying, you have to trust what I'm saying, that I'm going to give you more than you need the year before, so that way you can make it through the year of Jubilee and the year where you're not going to plant, and not only a year then, but also enough to get you to plant the crops for the following year after that, until they grow and they're ready to be harvested. And so God's saying, I'm going to give you more than you need right when you need it, not before, not later, not after, but right when you need it for that year. And so there takes some trust in that to step out in faith. God's telling them this for the first time. They're hearing this, they're having to process it, and they go, okay, we're putting a lot of faith in God to do what he says, so we won't starve to death and die. That's what's happening, but they believe it. And so they must trust that the Lord will provide a bounty for them. They have to step out in faith and know that God will give them exactly what they need to live and provide for their families. They had to have trust in the Lord's provision. They had to trust that the Lord would provide exactly what they needed when they needed it. I'm not sure where you are today, but what do you need to trust the Lord about today? What do I need to trust the Lord about today? You may be facing an impossible task, an impossible situation. You might be facing things that are just are rocking you, and you don't know where to turn or where to go. When these things happen, the Lord usually responds with a command to trust him, a command to be patient and wait on him. That's usually his response with us, is like, hey, I'm not going to give you exactly what you need right when you need it right now, but I'm going to give you when you need to get it, and I'm going to provide that for you at the right time. So I'm going to be honest here and tell you that I have a hard time waiting on the Lord. I have a hard time waiting for his provisions. I often try to get ahead of him and fix things myself. I want to be the one to provide and be responsible for what happens in my life. That's just being transparent. However, that is not how faith in God works. He wants us to grow in Him and lean on Him in everything we do. He will give us what we need when things get dark. He will provide for us even when we can't physically do what we are used to doing. And so, what I mean by that is that we may be the one in control, making decisions, doing all these things, but thinking we're in control of our lives really, and things are going on and things are taking place, or our understanding is misshaped, because God is going to direct our path if we're a believer. He's going to show us where we need to go, and He's going to give us um, the mindset of needing to trust in Him more than we trust ourselves. And oftentimes that means Him putting us in situations where we have to trust in Him, just like the Israelites did here, to trust in the crops that they would be provided for during this time of no harvesting. So today, I encourage you to trust the Lord's provision in your life, even when you have to wait and do nothing, even when you're just kind of going about your daily life, trusting Him and what He's doing. Trust that God will give you exactly what you need to survive, and most importantly, even thrive. And so, be encouraged by that today. And so, today, as you go do life and do what you need to do, know that God's with you. The Lord's going to provide. And this is a lesson I'm still learning in my personal life, to trust us more and more. So thank you for being with us today. Tomorrow we'll finish up the book of Leviticus in 26 and 27. Then we'll start the book of Numbers. So thank you and have a good day.